They look ordinary, but somewhere deep in the jungle, an unseen parasite is turning ants into zombies. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, an ant climbs a leaf, clamps its jaws tight, and waits to die. It's not acting on instinct. It's being controlled by a fungus that hijacks its mind and turns it into a zombie. In 1859, British naturalist Alfred Russel Wallace stumbled upon something strange while studying insects in the Malaysian rainforest. Dead ants, frozen in odd positions, their jaws gripping leaves. When scientists examined them later, they found a fungus bursting out of their heads. It was named Ophiocordyceps unilateralis, a parasite that specifically targets carpenter ants. But this wasn't an ordinary infection, it was behavioral control. The fungus could invade the ant's brain and muscles, forcing it to perform one final, fatal act. This bizarre discovery would later earn the nickname zombie ant fungus. It all starts when a fungal spore lands on an unsuspecting ant's body. The spore pierces the exoskeleton and begins to grow inside, slowly spreading through the ant's muscles and organs. But instead of killing it right away, the fungus keeps the host alive, controlling it like a puppet. As the infection deepens, the ant starts acting oddly, wandering away from the colony and climbing vegetation it would normally avoid. This isn't random. The fungus is steering it toward the perfect spot for fungal growth: humid, shaded, and exactly the right temperature. The infected ant begins a slow, eerie death march. It climbs about 25 centimeters above the forest floor, right into the fungus's ideal microclimate. Then, as if on cue, it locks its jaws onto the underside of a leaf vein and stays there. This moment is called the death grip. Inside, the fungus releases chemicals that paralyze the ant, shutting down its nervous system. Soon after, the ant dies, still locked in place. The fungus now has a stable, elevated platform to grow and spread its spores into the jungle below. Days after death, a long stalk bursts from the ant's head. This stalk produces spore-filled capsules, which are later released into the air, raining down onto other unsuspecting ants below. Under the microscope, the process looks like something from a horror film, spores launching like tiny biological bombs. But to the fungus, it's simply reproduction. The cycle continues, colony after colony, ant after ant. Over millions of years, the fungus has evolved this mind control mechanism with terrifying precision, perfectly adapted to exploit a single species' behavior and habitat. Scientists found that Ophiocordyceps doesn't actually invade the brain, it surrounds it. Like a parasite conductor, it seizes control through the muscles, manipulating them via chemical signals. It's as if the fungus cuts the wires and attaches its own control system. Researchers using 3D imaging at Penn State University revealed that fungal filaments form a web-like network throughout the ant's body, allowing complete motor control. The ant's brain is still intact, but it's no longer in charge. The organism inside it has taken over, turning the body into a remote-controlled shell. Why would evolution favor such a gruesome strategy? Ants live in dense colonies, creating the perfect conditions for a pathogen to spread. Each infected ant becomes a launchpad for new spores, capable of infecting thousands more. The fungus evolved specifically for carpenter ants, Camponotus species, adapting its chemistry to penetrate their tough exoskeleton and bypass immune defenses. It doesn't work on all insects, only on a few species that live in the right habitat. That level of specialization makes Ophiocordyceps one of the most precisely adapted parasites on Earth. To the naked eye, the rainforest looks peaceful, but under the leaves, an invisible war rages. entire patches of forest are dotted with graveyards of dead ants, all frozen in their death grips. These zones are known as ant graveyards. Each is evidence of the fungus's spread. Scientists studying them found patterns like microepidemics that mirror human disease outbreaks. The rainforest acts like a laboratory, showing how pathogens evolve and balance their own survival with that of their hosts. The fungus never wipes out all ants, it needs them alive to continue its horrifying cycle. What's fascinating is how precisely this fungus times everything. The ant climbs to exactly the right height, in the right humidity, at the right hour of the day. Researchers at the University of Exeter found that temperature and light cues trigger the fungus to act, ensuring maximum spore survival. If the ant bites too high, it dries out. Too low, the spores won't spread. The parasite's internal clock is so accurate, it might as well wear a biological watch. Evolution didn't just create a killer, it created a precision engineer. Ant colonies aren't defenseless. Healthy ants have evolved a collective immune system. When they detect a sick member, often by scent, they carry it far away from the colony. Sometimes they even kill infected ants to protect the rest. This behavior, known as social immunity, helps contain the fungus's spread. Researchers have observed ants performing what looks like funeral behavior, removing corpses from paths or burying them in soil. Nature's zombie apocalypse has its heroes too, ants that sacrifice their own for the survival of many. It's a haunting example of evolutionary teamwork, fighting back against manipulation. While first discovered in Asia, zombie ant fungi are found worldwide. Each region has its own species of Ophiocordyceps, adapted to local ant populations, from the Amazon basin to Thailand's jungles and even African forests. Scientists have identified hundreds of related species, each evolved for specific hosts. The diversity is mind-boggling proof of co-evolution between fungus and ant. It's not just one zombie fungus, it's a global web of behavior-controlling parasites, all fine-tuned by nature's slow, relentless engineering. Some even affect spiders, beetles, or flies. If we could shrink down and step inside the infected ant's mind, it would be chaos. Nerve signals misfire, muscles twitch, and the ant's internal compass collapses. The fungus releases neuroactive compounds that mimic the ant's natural chemicals, essentially hijacking its nervous system. It's like installing malware into an organic computer. The ant still senses the world, but can't control what its body does. This phenomenon fascinates neurologists, who compare it to how viruses can alter human behavior, like rabies. It's nature's biological programming at its most terrifying and most elegant. As horrifying as it sounds, the fungus isn't just a killer, it's part of the rainforest's balance. By infecting specific ants, it prevents colonies from overpopulating and consuming too much vegetation. It's nature's way of keeping the ecological web stable. The cycle also nourishes soil with fungal nutrients, feeding new plant growth. In its own chilling way, Ophiocordyceps acts like an ecosystem regulator. Without it, rainforests could shift dramatically. Every death grip under a leaf contributes to the living rhythm of the jungle, a reminder that even horror has purpose in nature. Modern mycologists risk jungle heat, leeches, and swarms of mosquitoes to study these fungi up close. They hike through dense forests, scanning leaves for the tiny white stalks that betray an infected ant. Collecting them requires precision. Each sample must be handled carefully to preserve its delicate spores. In labs, researchers sequence the fungus's genome, searching for the exact genes that control ant behavior. The deeper they dig, the stranger it gets. These genes don't just manipulate movement, they may also alter time perception and sensory response. It's nature's real-life code for mind control. In 2020, scientists from Penn State and Utrecht University discovered that Ophiocordyceps releases neurotoxins targeting the ant's muscles, not its brain. These compounds mimic natural neurotransmitters, letting the fungus literally move the ant's limbs. Genetic analysis revealed a cluster of behavioral genes that switch on only during infection. One gene even helps the fungus sense light levels and humidity, syncing the takeover with perfect environmental timing. It's evolution's version of precision hacking. No magic, no mystery, just ruthless biology. This discovery pushed biologists to rethink what conscious control even means in living organisms. Long before modern science, indigenous communities in the Amazon already knew of this fungus. They called it a forest curse, noticing that infected ants always climbed before dying. They believed it was the jungle reclaiming life for itself, a kind of balance ritual. Centuries later, science proved them partly right. The fungus is indeed a regulator, maintaining harmony in an ecosystem so complex that human logic barely scratches the surface. What ancient observers saw as myth, we now understand as microbial ecology, proof that sometimes folklore captures truths long before data does. The zombie ant fungus isn't alone. Nature has many parasitic manipulators. There's a wasp that injects venom into cockroaches, turning them into obedient food carriers. A hairworm forces crickets to jump into water to drown so it can escape and reproduce. Even Toxoplasma gondii, found in cats, alters rodent behavior so they lose fear of cats entirely. Ophiocordyceps is just one member of this creepy club of mind-controlling organisms that blur the line between predator and puppet. These parasites remind us that control isn't always visible. It's chemical, microscopic, and terrifyingly efficient. Here's the burning question. Could it infect us? Thankfully, no. The fungus is highly species-specific. It's evolved only for certain ant species. Our body temperature, chemistry, and immune defenses make humans completely incompatible hosts. Still, researchers study its mechanisms for medical breakthroughs, especially in drug design and neurochemistry. If we can decode how it targets specific cells and rewires behavior, we might someday apply that to treat neurological disorders or cancer. So while Ophiocordyceps can't turn us into zombies, it might help us heal the brain one day. It's easy to see this fungus as pure horror, but it's also a masterpiece of evolutionary design. Over millions of years, it's refined every step of its infection cycle with breathtaking precision. It never kills too fast, never wastes energy. It's nature's ultimate strategist. The deeper scientists study it, the more they see an elegant balance between life and death, control and chaos. What looks monstrous to us is just another form of biological intelligence, one that evolved long before human consciousness even existed. Next time you see a trail of ants, remember this. Somewhere nearby, a single spore could be waiting to rewrite one of their lives. The jungle hides 1,000 stories like this, where life survives by bending the rules of nature. The zombie ant fungus isn't fiction. It's proof that truth can be stranger and smarter than imagination. If this story made you look at the world a little differently, explore deeper, because every strange discovery hides another layer just beneath the surface, waiting for curious minds like yours to find it.